Welcome to a pod somewhere in time. I'm your host, John, and I'm here with my co host, Matthias. And on today's episode, we are going to be discussing the Iron Maiden album, Fear of the Dark. I have some quick historical notes for you on this record so you can put yourself in the proper time frame. Fear of the Dark is Iron Maiden's ninth studio album. It was released on May 11th, 1992. It's the last to feature Bruce Dickinson till the reunion. It's produced by Steve Harris and Martin Birch. It's the last album with Martin Birch. It's recorded in Steve's barn, which was now converted into a proper studio and named The Barnyard. The album cover was done by Melvin Grant, and it's the first album not to be designed by Derek Riggs. The tour went from June 3rd, 1992 to November 4th, 1992. Notable opening bands: Testament, Dream Theater, Corrosion of Conformity, Thunder, and Warrant. They headlined the Monsters of Rock in Donington, England on August 22nd, and the show was filmed and recorded for a live album called Live at Donington. Bruce announced his departure from the band before the second leg of the tour on March 13th. The second leg of the tour was dubbed the Real Live Tour. Two live albums were recorded on this tour, a real live one and a real dead one, featuring newer and older material. The older material was added when Bruce announced his departure. Bruce's final show was filmed at Pinewood Studios, London on August 28th, 1993. Illusionist Simon Drake was also part of the act for the show, and the show was released on September 5th, 1994 on VHS. All right, Matthias, Fear of the Dark. What are your memories and thoughts of on this album then and now?
Well, before we get into that, John, I think we should just take a brief moment and take a look on a few releases that were put out in the interval between No Prayer and before Fear of the Dark.
I
So
forgot to
what?
mention, yeah, that for those out there listening in the podcast world, we posted the video version of this on my YouTube channel, Lair the Alchemist. So you can go over there. You can find the video version of this because Matthias is going to be showing a lot of album covers and different formats and stuff like that. So we encourage you to go over there and also check out the video because it's really interesting to see all these different versions and covers and everything. So, all right, carry on.
Yes. So what happened was in 91 was that Nico put out his drum instruction video, and he also recorded a single with two exclusive tracks. He did those two tracks along with Dave Murray. And the two songs are Rhythm of the Beast, as you can see, it's the lead song of the single, and the B-side is a song called Beehive Boogie. And these were released to go with the drum video from Nico, his first one. And yeah, I showed you the Racing Hell video. Perhaps we should explain now that we don't intend to go through all the live albums. I think we explained that when we did a live After Death video.
Yeah.
But let's just make a quick mention and take a look. Oh, sorry, I forgot this one. Yeah, here is the John McEnroe and Pat Cash single with the rhythm section of Steve Harris and Nico McBrain. On this, it's Roger Daltrey doing the vocals of the Led Zeppelin classic Rock and Roll. It's not a very good version, apart from the rhythm section, if you ask me. It just feels a bit like, I don't know. It's okay, but it's not something special.
So is that a
Andy Bar
single? Is that a
this
12-inch single?
this is a 12-inch,
Okay.
yes. And it was done for the Rock Aid Armenia thing that we also have talked about. Andy Barnett, who we mentioned in the Hackney episode, who was in the whole population of Hackney, is also playing slide guitar on this version. Yes. So first, the live albums. they decided to do a live album for the tour, and Bruce announced his departure. They decided to make two. So first, the first album was the real live one, and that one was with songs newer than Live After Death. So it was post Live After Death songs. And the setup or the idea behind these were to have like songs recorded on different venues with different audiences in different countries. So from that point of view, it's like a nice memorabilia thing for the fans going to the tour. So I mean, I am on this one. Uh, they recorded. Let me see. They recorded "Afraid to Shoot Strangers" in Stockholm, where I was present, and they recorded "From Here to Eternity" in Valbyhallen in Copenhagen, which I also went to. And then they put out this one called "A Real Dead One," which has older songs, but a few cuts that isn't on Live After Death. And as Bruce announced that he was going to leave the band, they thought that they would do a few songs that they hadn't done with Bruce, such as for many years, such as "Prowler" and "Remember Tomorrow." And they also did a recording of "Where Eagles Stare" that isn't on Live After Death, of course. And they also put "Sanctuary" on this one. For the first time, the song "Sanctuary" was on a full-length album. So all in all, I think it's there are both nice packages, but as a live album, it does. Let's be honest, it's not something I return to. Have you been listening to a real live one and a real dead one?
No, I think they sound terrible. I mean, maybe not terrible. I'm exaggerating. I mean, a real dead one is kind of interesting because they play some stuff like Prowler, Transylvania, Remember Tomorrow, Where
Yeah.
Eagles Dare. Uh, that's really about it as far as interest. So it's kind of fun to hear those, but I don't think they sound particularly good. The band doesn't sound really, I just remember I haven't listened to them in ages, and I just remember not really liking them. I remember being confused because I did not get these till, gosh, probably into the mid 2000s or something. I
Mm.
grabbed them used somewhere, and I wasn't even sure if they were official. I thought they might have been bootlegs because they have that kind of like it's off the soundboard, but it wasn't really mixed or something. So for the longest time, I thought that these were like unofficial releases or something. So yeah, they're not. I never come back to these. And were those did those is that an original vinyl or was that reissued
Yeah.
on vinyl later on?
No, these are both are original vinyls from back then, 1993. Um, they are by Steve Harris, produced by Steve Harris, and I mean he was pretty new to that whole deal, and just going through all these gigs and pick out the songs must have been quite a big job. But nah, I don't. I don't think they're great. I do enjoy that it's Derek Riggs who made the covers for these albums. They also released an official bootleg. This is my copy of a limited edition triple vinyl of the Donington gig, and as you can see, here's all the autographs of the band.
So that was released in 92, 93.
It was in '93,
The vinyl
and
was released. Wow. Okay, I've never even
yeah,
seen that.
this one is very very rare actually.
Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah, I'm used to only seeing that alternate cover that's on like the streaming services, and I think it was in the Eddie box. Yeah, I've never seen that. original cover.
It has Steve Harris on the backside. All the other guys were all over the place here, as you can see. So
Uh,
I have Steve Harris autograph on the backside. But this was supposed, I mean, the packaging in itself sort of says it wasn't supposed to be like the proper live recording of the tour,
yeah,
but they decided to make like an official bootleg kind of one, and I think it shows. It's
yeah,
of course, they did a video for the Donington gig in '92 and put out later. And this video release has it didn't go down well among the fans, I must say. It's the editing of this one. It's made by Samuel Bayer, and it's very sort of modern for its age, looking with slow mo and black and white and color
yeah.
being all over the place. I think it's okay, but I can also see it's not like as a document, it's not that super good. Like I said, I saw a couple of dates on this tour. It was the first time for me going abroad and seeing the band outside of Sweden. I went to Copenhagen, and that's why I'm on more songs than one. But it was a funny gig in Stockholm. Just just like a week after the Donington gig, they played Stockholm on that tour. And in Stockholm, they invited a few performers to do air sex on stage. And what is air sex? Apparently, the night before, they went on a TV show with Swedish television, and they had like a stupid competition where I think it was 3 or 4 couples doing as many sexual positions, fully dressed, in a limited amount of time. So
Oh my
who could
gosh.
do this? And for some reason, Bruce thought it was a good thing to invite them on stage during Heaven Can Wait, when they have the sing along section with the crowd and the guests on stage. And then these air sex performers stayed on stage to do their act, so to speak.
Wow.
And I hadn't seen this thing on TV, so for me it was like, what is going on here? I had absolutely no idea. It was so silly. But
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, this is another one that, like, when I look at the set list, there is some stuff on here I listen to this more than the real live one and real dead one. But the problem is you do have some cool stuff on here, like Be Quick or Be Dead.
Mm,
I don't need to hear Number of the Beast or Wrathchild. I don't like from the songs From Here to Eternity and Can I Play with Madness. Wasting Love is nice. Tail Gunner is nice. Evil That Men Do, Afraid to Shoot Strangers, Fear the Dark. Those are good. I don't like the song Bring Your Daughter to Slaughter. Clairvoyant is cool. Heaven Can Wait is cool. And then the rest of the record is stuff I don't need to hear again. Run to the Hills, 2 Minutes, Iron Maiden, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Trooper, Sanctuary, Running Free. I don't need to hear those. So, I mean, if I took out all the stuff that I don't like or don't need to hear again live because there's already definitive live versions or too many live versions, it'd probably be a pretty cool single disc live record.
mm,
But as it stands, I listen to it more than real live one and real dead one. But no, it's not something that I reach for a lot.
mm.
And this wasn't
It's
available. When did this CD become available? I don't have the memory of it until it was inside that Eddie box. Was this
they
available to the public on CD in
uh,
92?
yeah, it was released on. I got the vinyl version, and they made. I should have it here behind me.
Okay. I've never seen that before.
So it's like those old school thick CD
Yeah,
boxes,
double.
live at Donington.
I wonder if that
It's
was released in I'm while you're talking, I'm gonna look it up on Discogs.
it's been released with the
Yeah.
T-shirt that I'm wearing from back then. They released it with that cover and not with this official bootleg look of it. And they also made those two, a real live one, a real dead one, was put out later as because these are single vinyl releases, one CD. So they put
Yeah.
it out as a double CD feature called A
Yeah.
Real Live Dead One or something.
Yeah, it wasn't released in the US on CD or vinyl until 2002.
Mm,
So that probably explains that's around the time when I don't remember when that Ed box came out, but I think I remember seeing this around then. So yeah, I don't remember seeing this like in the 90s, and that's because it wasn't released in the US apparently, at least
yeah.
on CD. It made, well, no, it was, oh no, I could have been released on vinyl. Let me just see real quick if it was released on vinyl. Nope, it
Wi-
wasn't released on vinyl in the US.
No, it's just a European edition, UK edition. So where were you at in '92 when they put out Fear the Dark?
Well, just like No Prayer for the Dying, I did not buy these when they came out. I had jumped ship. Uh, you can go back and hear me tell my story during the Seventh Son era. And I'm trying to think if I was even, I think on No Prayer, I remember seeing a video or two for that. I don't even think I was aware of this album at all. I was completely 92. I would have been living in a place with no TV long before the internet. I was pretty much off the grid, completely unaware of what Iron Maiden was doing. So I bought No Prayer and Fear of the Dark after uh, Brave New World came out, and I started going back and listening to Maiden again. And I didn't have these, and I'm pretty sure I bought them both at the same time. Uh, I just remember not liking it doing nothing for me. And whereas No Prayer for the Dying has grown on me, and you can go back to our No Prayer episode to hear us discuss that. This album, outside of a couple songs, I just don't really reach for this record. It's if No Prayer for the Dying was a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10, this is like a 3 out of 10 for me. The band just sounds flat, stale, out of ideas. There's moments that work here and there, and there are things that I like, and we'll get into that when we go through the
Yeah,
track listing. There's moments, but then there's other moments where it's just, to quote Martin Popoff, I'm not exactly quoting, but he says something like Bruce knows when to leave a sinking ship. And that's pretty much what just feels like they're flat. They're flat, they're out of ideas. I don't like the production on the record. To me, it feels flat. The bass doesn't sound particularly good, which is weird because it's recorded at Steve's place and he's like co-producer or whatever. Can't To me, it's just like his worst bass sound on the first, so many on these early records. Uh, I don't think the drums, they sound okay, but they just don't have a lot of punch. There's something about this record that just sounds tired and flat to me. And I really, I mean, I mentioned this in No Prayer for the Dying. I don't like the way Bruce sings on that record. Well, it's even worse on this record, outside of a few moments where he goes out of that voice. But he's so in that voice, that raspy voice thing that he's trying to do. I just don't like it at all. And something I find really annoying on this, and I'll mention this as we go through some of the individual songs, it just doesn't sound like the band is tight. There's moments on here where it feels like Steve is rushing and the band is holding back, or this is just, it just doesn't, they sound like demos to me. Like they were working these out and they didn't tighten some of these songs up properly. There's some songs on here that are right on the money, and then there's other ones that just to me sound like, and I don't know if Martin Birch's involvement at this point, if how much of a say he had in stuff, or is it just the point where Steve starts to exert his authority over the entire thing? Because it just makes me wonder, like, part of me wants to think that if this was a strictly Martin Birch produced record, that he would have gotten better takes. out of them.
Yeah. I don't recall any of the band actually commenting on exactly that. How much is Steve? How much is Martin? But I guess my guess is that sort of Martin perhaps had checked out a bit. He helped to actually turn the barn, as they call it, into a proper studio. He sort of was hands on what sort of equipment they should get, and I think he was helping them to get sort out the sounds that they wanted to achieve. But when it comes to actual takes, I think that Steve, this is my guess. I think Steve was pretty much like, I like the feel of that take. Let's use that drum take.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So my guess is that it's more. I mean, it's like you have a producer and Steve is the executive producer, like you have in a movie. I
Yeah.
mean, the one who makes it happens, and you have the Martin as the guy who is the experienced engineer who is sort of taking care of things, but one step behind, perhaps, of Steve actually calling the shots, more or
And
less.
this is where things, I mean, it's the same listed as the same setup on No Prayer for the Dying, Steve and Martin Birch as
Mm.
producers. But this is where I think things start going wrong for them, where they've gotten, and this happens to every band, they get to a point where they're so big, they're like, I don't need to listen to, we can do what we want at this point. And you think back to their second album, or their first album with Martin Birch, where I'm sure Martin walked into the room and they were all starry-eyed because Martin had worked on some of
Mm.
their favorite records, Deep Purple, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sure during those early days, Martin could probably push them and say, "No,
Mm.
that's not good enough. Do another take." Now he was a objective voice, and I think they lose that, and they're probably at a point where they can't be told what to do. And I think I should say Steve can't be told what to do because it seems like Steve's the guy making a lot of these decisions. It seems like everybody, Adrian has already left. Bruce has probably, it's not like he decided to leave, everything was fine, and he decides to leave on a whim. It's like I'm sure it was something that was building. So Bruce is probably half out the door. You just mentioned that Martin Birch was probably half out the door. Derek Riggs is already out the door. It's we've all been in situations, whether it's a work environment or Matthias and I play in bands, and you know that feeling when things are just they're not going up, they're going down.
Mm.
And I'm sure there was a sense of like this is a sinking ship. It's taking on water. It's starting to go down. And
Mm.
I wish that you meant we discussed a real live one and a real dead one. And isn't Steve the sole producer on those?
Yeah, he is.
And to me, that's not good. In fact, there's those albums don't sound good. And some of the later, I forget which one, because they've released so many live albums at this point. I was listening to one of the recent live albums. I don't even want to guess which one it was, but I had to ask myself, is Steve's hearing damaged? Because there was like something in the audio just wrong, like phase cancellation or things cutting in and out, that I really had to ask, like, is there's something wrong here? And this is what happens when you don't have that objective outside voice, somebody who's not invested in the songwriting or the band and can come in with fresh ears and say, that's not right. This doesn't sound good. We have to redo this.
Mm.
This needs to get fixed. And unfortunately, from this point forward, Steve takes more and more control, I think, of this side of the band, the videos, the live albums. I mean, can you honestly say that any of these live albums sound incredible
No,
sonically?
no. They
No.
sound okay, but it's not
Yeah.
it's not like it's exceptional or
And
anything.
some of
No.
them I would say just don't sound good at all.
Mm.
And so I can't help but think on this record, it's moved into Steve's barn. He converts it into the studio that and that's what it sounds like to me. It just sounds like a record that is just flat. The inspiration is sort of gone. I mean, what should they have done at this point? Maybe they should have taken an extended break, taken a couple years off, let everybody do solo records. Maybe they would have come back rejuvenated. I don't know. I have no idea. But to me, it's just the Bruce era has ground to a halt. It's kind of a shame. It would have been if Bruce had left after Seventh Son, everyone would be, oh, he left at the top of their game. He left at the top. Maiden was, that's an amazing record, and he left. Why did he leave then? Well, now he hung around a little bit too long.
Mm.
And this is what we get. Another thing I didn't mention either, I really dislike some of the guitar solos on this record. And I'm not as in tune with who's who as you are, Matthias. I know that you know who's playing what, but I'm willing to bet my chips that it's Yannick that I don't like on here, because there are some guitar solos on here. I don't like the tone, and it's just this sort of fast, noisy, sloppy guitar playing. And I don't remember it being this bad on No Prayer for the Dying, but on here, I just find it's so distracting. I hear some of these guitar solos, and I'm just like, what is going on? I really dislike the lead playing on this. And there's some leads I like and I notate those, but there's a bunch of leads on here that I think are just awful. For a band of this stature, awful. I mean, something I'd expect from a beginner band that doesn't know any better. They should know better. And again, that reinforces to me that the quality control, that maybe if Martin Birch had more say in it, he would have said, no, you can't do that there. You have to clean that up. You got to do something different. But I don't know. Maybe they're going for more of a grittier sound. If they are, it didn't work. But I don't know. It's a confusing record. I have no idea what they were trying to accomplish with this record.
Mm. For me, it was the first Iron Maiden album that I only liked, but I didn't love. So from that point of view, it was an interesting time because as I was growing older, I was able to do more stuff. I was earning my own money a bit, to so I was as a fan, I was fully into buying albums, going to shows, getting posters, collecting stuff. I think I by 92 was starting to do tape trading, getting into uh, copying cassettes and sending not all over the world, but within Europe at least, for with a few other tape traders doing stuff like that. So, in a weird way, as a Maiden fan, I was growing a lot, but maybe my love for the new album was actually diminishing or waning a bit by 1992. I mean, it was a new Iron Maiden album, so I was listening and playing that album a lot back then. But I sort of, as we go through these individual tracks, I mean, there are a few songs that I don't like at all. There are a few ones that I still love and really enjoy. You were talking about the sound and everything, and I think that at the time they were really talking about that. Bruce was all over Pray for the Dying and say that it was a mistake. They shouldn't have recorded that way. They should have been in a proper studio and blah blah blah. So by the time of recording Fear of the Dark, Bruce at least, and I think the rest of the guys too, will like, okay, we have to step up our game here and make it sound better. So I think they did experiment quite a bit. You talked about the drum sound, and that was one of the key factors that they wanted to sort of adjust and make better from the previous album. So what they did was that they detuned Nico's drums a bit. The snare
Mm,
sound is very deep,
yeah.
and it's not like Nico's natural choice
Yeah.
of drum sound. They changed that back for later albums, but for this one, you can hear that the snare is not as tight as Nico's snares usually are.
Yeah.
And he did comment on that. He found it quite hard to play the drum kit as they had set it up for recording Fear the Dark. And as you're also a musician, and you all know, and if you're a musician listening to this, when you alter your setup, even though you don't have to be a drummer, are you a guitar player and changing the strings for something thicker, or if things aren't adjusted the way that you're used to or want them to be, it can be sort of not a mental blocking, but it's something they're disturbing you when you try to perform. And I think it's, to my ears, I can sort of hear that Nico is sort of restrained, perhaps
Yeah.
by the setup of the drums. But we'll get into that a
I'm
bit more
glad you
later.
said that because I was almost getting ready to say, before you mentioned the down tune thing, I was going to say, it just sounds like his drums are just dull and not as bright. And now that
Yeah,
explains it. And I'm not going to say this is his worst performance because I don't think he plays bad, but he
no,
just doesn't stand out. I was like two-thirds of the way through this record, kind of going over it, making notes for the pod. And I thought to myself, I haven't noticed Nico once on this record. I they're too far back, they're too mellow, they're too soft sounding. And again, it's not that he plays bad like he's playing out of time, but I just don't he's just not really it feels like he's not doing a lot or he's being held back or something.
no, exactly. Um, and as a fan, like I said, I saw that they did the second leg of the tour after they announced Bruce's departure, and they played in Gothenburg. So they only played Stockholm on that as the only Sweden gig in Globe Arena, which was fairly new back then. And they played in Gothenburg on the 23rd of April. And that was actually the first time that I met the band and got a few things. I had bought a tour poster of a real live tour, and I brought that along to the hotel. We found out where they were staying, and thanks to my inexperience of things like these, I ended up way back in this long queue of fans. So first, it was only Steve Harris who came out. There was this security guy coming out first and saying, "Okay, if you all back up a bit, Steve will come out and sign a few autographs. Okay, but no talking, just keep things moving. Okay." And people all of a sudden knew what to do, except for me, the newbie, and all things like this. So I ended up like in the very back, and I was thinking, I won't get any autograph from Steve because he will just go back inside. So, but I stayed around, and bef- before my turn, the rest of the band had also come out. So all of the band signed my poster, and I distinctly remember because this was the first time like I was eye to eye to them. And when I came up and met Steve, I thought, "Wow, that's Steve Harris. He's so short." And I mean, the first time I saw a Fender Precision bass and actually holding one in my hands was like, he's not that big. Because to me, I had only seen like Steve Harris in the picture and
Yeah.
videos playing his Precision, and I always thought that, oh, it must be a quite big instrument, like bigger than a regular guitar. And when I first held it in my hand, it was like, okay, it's not like any unnormal size here. It must be Steve being a bit on the smaller side. And so when I met him for the first time myself, it was like, wow, he's short. So
Yeah, I
that was
never
a bit
thought
funny.
about that. Yeah.
So, okay, before we go into the,
Hey, Steve's the same size as me. He's not,
yeah, he
he's not,
is,
yeah, I'm a
but you're
little
tiny.
smaller than Steve, but
You're tiny, John. You've seen people on stage, you've seen them in
yeah.
videos, you just assume that they're like big people. I mean, like, okay, they are, I don't know. In my head, I just assumed that he was like my height or something, but he wasn't.
And Bruce is even smaller, isn't he?
Yeah, they're about the same size. Yeah. So the Melvin Grant cover. So this was first time someone else than Derek Riggs was got the honors to make the sleeve. I think it's quite good. If you are curious, there you can go online and just search for something like rejected Fear of the Dark cover art or uh, Fear of the Dark Derek Riggs art or something like that, and you can see the one that the band rejected. I think that is quite cool too. If I've had that firsthand, I wouldn't have rejected that. But I think they wanted to move into something else. They wanted something else, and like we talked about in the previous episode, talking about No Prayer, it's pretty obvious that uh, Derek didn't really enjoy getting specific tasks like we want this, we want Eddie to do exactly this or that. He wanted to have his artistic free. I mean, even if you're an hired illustrator, you at least want to have some of your own input. And I think that Derek was a bit fed up, don't getting to have his input. Simply put,
Yeah, I'm
they
looking at the alternate cover, the
yeah.
one that Derek did. It's not good.
You don't think? I
It's
think it's kind of it could. It's unfinished because you can see there are like
yeah.
white panels.
Yeah, where the bed would be. I guess
Yeah,
if the I don't know, there's too much stuff going on here. Even if that bed, there's for those that can't see it, there's a bed. There's Eddie with like a snake tongue coming out here, coming out of the wall. There's a window behind him. There's a bat above him, a
yeah,
moon and clouds and stuff. But it's just a little too busy for me. And I do kind of like the fact that on the final album cover, it's a little strange. I remember thinking this was weird when I saw it at first, the way the name is going vertical on the left
yeah.
side of the cover.
Mhm.
I always thought that at first I thought that was really strange, but I think it's kind of interesting now. And the way Fear of the Dark is sort of in a like a hand written type of thing, and it's kind of rather small, but I don't know. It's interesting. I'd like to see somebody do a mock-up with the name on the top and maybe have the picture fill out the entire thing, but I'm guessing that somebody might have done that at some point. Matthias is looking through his CD collection. Maybe he does have an alternate cover.
Yeah. There is a. I think it's not the Australian one. It's another edition. I perhaps I have it in the other room, but there is one that looks more like the a regular sort
Oh,
of
okay.
yeah cover. I can't remember what edition it is. Maybe it's just a Dutch one, I think. Hmm. Yeah, should have looked that up beforehand. Anyway, the tree edit works for me, so I think that it'll is a good cover. Like we said, it's Melvin Grant who made the one for. So should we go into the individual tracks?
Yeah, I just noticed the UK and US cassettes have the name at the top. I'm looking down Discogs to see if looks like it's just so far I'm only seeing the cassette versions with yeah. Not seeing any album versions. I'm only seeing
Well,
cassette versions with the name at the top.
I mean, the motif is a standing one. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I it's kind of weird. I don't know if Melvin Grant intended it to just be like this. So, and he painted it, the motif a bit more stand up, just so they could use it for posters. And then the band thought it looked so good that they wanted to have like the whole of the motif on the record sleeve. I don't know, but it is a bit weird. It is.
All right, well, let's jump into the song. So the album opens with Be Quick or Be Dead. And I love this one. I think this is a great opener. I love the energy of it. Uh, I like the lyrics, that line that Bruce sings, see who's ruling all our lives, see who's pulling strings. I like the first guitar solo. To me, it comes out kind of like Aces High, just this high energy, tons of energy. I like the guitar line. I think it's really catchy. Great album opener.
Mm. I think this is the best song on the album. Actually,
Yeah, I might
I
agree with that.
"Be Quick or Be Dead" is one of my favorite songs, and I think I would rate it pretty high on my all-time Maiden list if I ever made one. It would definitely be on the like the the, the top of that chart. Yeah, it's Janik doing the first solo. It's a Bruce and Janik song. Janik's music, Bruce's lyrics. Um, and I think it's kind of weird that they didn't actually play this song much live after this.
I
I
know it
was,
sounds like a total concert opener, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, definitely. But for some reason, it just dropped out pretty fast of the set. They should have brought it back for the Run for Your Lives tour, as they were saying they were going to do songs up till 1992. But it's only Fear the Dark in the present set of Run for Your Lives that they're doing now. Um, it is. Yeah, and I think this is the first of Janik's. Janik is quite good on writing these sort of high energy rockers actually, and I think "Be Quick or Be Dead" is one of the best ones he's done for the band.
All right, next is a Steve Harris penned From Here to Eternity. I do not like when Iron Maiden plays this kind of, to me, it just sounds like a hard rock song or a rock song. I will admit that the chorus is very catchy, and I do like catchy stuff, but I just don't like Iron Maiden doing this kind of thing. It's kind of AC/DC like at times.
Mm.
Same thing with Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter and Can I Play with Madness? I don't like those either. I just don't like when they do these, what to me just sound like rock songs. I don't like Bruce's lyrics. I'm looking at my notes here. The background vocal.
It's Steve
Oh, it's
lyrics. It's
Steve's, and
only Steve.
I don't like the lyrics. I don't like Steve's lyrics. I don't like Bruce's singing on it. Uh, the guitar solo is terrible. I hate the guitar solo in it. I hate the background vocals. They sound so cheesy and hell ain't a bad place. Hell is from here to eternity. I don't like the background vocals sound. I don't like this song. There's nothing that I like. I just don't like Iron Maiden in this zone. And again, I like this chorus. And maybe if some other band played this and Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter and that was their whole MO, I'd be okay with it. But the second song on the record, we go from Be Quick. I distinctly remember when I heard this for the first time, I was like, wow, Be Quick or Be Dead. Yeah. Okay. Whoa, this is the Iron Maiden album that I missed out on. And then
Mm.
I heard this and I was like, okay, this is Iron Maiden. This is reminds me is the stuff I don't like about No Prayer for the Dying. Here's more of this. Bummer. I was sort of misled by Be Quick or Be Dead. I was thinking like, oh, okay. Because I had heard No Prayer first. I think I had said I bought
Mm.
them at the same time, but I bought No Prayer first. And then I think not too long after that, I got Fear of the Dark. So, nah, don't like it.
No, this is probably one of my least liked Iron Maiden songs of all their songs. Of all their songs, this
Wow.
is what in the
Because
bottom
there's
for me.
another one coming up here that I thought would have taken that honor.
Yeah, I just like you say, I don't like Maiden doing this. I don't think the song in itself is particularly good at all. I mean, even at the time, I think it was maybe a press release or I can't remember, it was an interview or something. But I mean, Bruce sort of called it a joke song. I don't think he intended to like degrade it, but just that the spirit of the song with the lyric, what the lyric is about, it's sort of light-hearted and made for easy consumption, I think. But I mean, yeah, the only nice trivia I have to say about this song is um, as you and I think we mentioned this before on this pod that I've been uh, on this pod called Maiden A to Z, A to Z, and we did a Martin Birch summer special a few years back, like 2 years back or something. And I was going through all Martin Birch albums, records he produced, mixed, engineered, and I came across what I assume is his first fully produced album. It was by a early Pro 2 sort of glam band, I would say, in style. The band was called Silverhead. The album is called Silverhead, and it was this song on the album called Ace Supreme. And there's this line going, she leaned over, licked his kickstart clean. And it even rhymes with machine, like in the Maiden song. And I mean, okay, it could be a coincidence because I mean, Silverhead only put out this one album. But could Steve maybe have heard that and thought that was a funny line and just nicked it for his song From Here to Eternity? Well, I don't know, but it's a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
And since it's produced by Martin Birch, I think the Silverhead was one of the first bands to be put out on Deep Purple's own label or something like that. And that through the Deep Purple connection, that's why Martin Birch came to produce that from 1972. So it's an old album. I have never heard of this before doing research for the summer special with Maiden 8 said, but no, From Here to Eternity, didn't like it then. You know, sometimes songs can sort of grow on you over time, but
This
this
is not
song,
one of them.
this is, I think it even diminished in quality, and my enthusiasm is just rock bottom for this one. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Next one.
Okay, Afraid to Shoot Strangers. This is another Steve song. Uh, this one's okay when it gets moving. To me, this song, as I was re-listening to this record for the pod, is kind of a hair-bringer of what's to come when Bruce comes back into the band. Songs that are too long. This song clocks in at 6 minutes and 52 seconds. It is the second longest song on the record. It's too long. It takes too long for it to get started. It repeats the chorus too often. Uh, the double time part is okay. I hate this tone of the guitar is the guitar in the solo. Chorus repeated too many times. At least Bruce at the beginning is he's kind of half speaking, half singing. At least we get to catch our breath from that annoying like tone that he uses on a lot of this record. Uh, didn't they just play this? Didn't they play this on a tour like not that long ago? Like maybe was it the tour that they did where they were doing a lot of Seventh Son
Yeah,
stuff? All right, when they played this, and for those two, if you haven't heard me say this out there, I'm in the US. When I saw them and they played this, I wish I filmed it because I don't know by about a minute and a half into this song, the people at the popcorn stands and the beer stands in the hallways
Mhm.
must have been like, did somebody pull a fire alarm? Because there were so many people leaving to go to the bathroom. It came at like, I don't remember where, but far enough into the set that it was kind of like, okay, I've been waiting to go to the bathroom. Gee, I could go for a popcorn. I could really go for a beer. And everybody decided to do it during Afraid to Shoot Strangers. It was so boring. Uh, Here in the US, this song doesn't resonate at all. I don't know if it's in Europe, if it somehow had any kind of radio airplay or something like that. I have no idea. But it just did not work. It fell completely flat, sucked all the energy out of the room. And I've never seen so many people leave to go get popcorn as I saw during that song. There was a line. People were in line waiting to get out when they were playing this song. And I don't think it's that bad. Again, I think it's okay when it kicks in. It's all right. But this feels like something that could have landed up on one of the recent records, except they would have added another 5 minutes to it and they would have repeated the chorus four more times and they would have extended the intro by 2 minutes, you know. But it's just one of these songs. The chorus isn't particularly exciting. Afraid to shoot strangers. Afraid to shoot strangers. The lyrics are kind of interesting. I do like the concept of the lyrics, uh, but I don't know. It's a 4 out of 10. It sort of represents this record for me. It's just kind of there. It's not the worst thing I've ever heard, but it's just doesn't work. This would not
Mm.
have made it on to Peace of Mind or Number of the Beast. No way. But
The I think it's so funny you mentioned that because I wrote in my notes here that this song, and I've said this for years and years, that this song sort of foreshadowed the X Factor very clearly to me, and the way that Steve writes his epics, so called these days. This is like the first quote unquote modern Steve Harris composition. I do think this is a good one, though. I do agree that they sort of repeat the "Afraid to Shoot Strangers" a bit too many, but I think it's quite interesting with the waltz. I mean, it's a waltz before they go into the double time part, which is, I guess, I think it's quite cool actually. The the song "Afraid to Shoot Strangers," I think it was actually quite popular among uh, fans. Actually, it's one of the more liked songs, and they kept this song along with Fear of the Dark, of course. And it's, I would say, it's the song previous to the Blaze era that Blaze sort of made his own. So when they played the tours with Blaze, they did this song, and I must say, I think that Blaze, his performance of this song is like, I actually, I stick my neck out there. I actually prefer his version to Bruce's version because
I've never
because
heard it. I've got to check that out.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to check that out because I think that Blaze brings a bit more emotion into the words actually about this soldier waiting to go into battle. He just he makes it a bit more real, it, uh, something like that. Um, Is it one of my favorite songs with Our Maiden? No, it's not. It's somewhere in the middle. It's not. It's not the best. It's not the worst. But it is, like I said, the first modern Steve Harris song, and all that comes with that. But I think it went down a bit better in Europe than it did in the US. I say, but it was a strange choice to put this song on that tour. They did in
Yeah.
12 or 13, yeah, doing the Made in England set. A bit unusual. It's Yannick and it's Dave doing the solos. I'm not that fond of Yannick's solo on this one. Dave's is a bit better. And also, I should mention this now because One thing that I do sort of miss when Adrian left are the guitar harmony parts. There on this album and on this song, it's very much two guitars playing the same melody in unison.
Hmm.
And I mean, sometimes listening to this, and that's something for that goes for all of this album, is that you sometimes wish that Adrian was back putting in a harmony somewhere, or even Dennis Stratton being back and playing a harmony somewhere, just to expand the sound a bit. And especially on this one, it could have been. It's nothing wrong with the guitar melodies, but they could have made so much more out of it. But I think it's Afraid to Choose Strangers is a good one, but it's not super good.
Yeah. Okay, Fear is the Key, and this is a Bruce and Yannick song.
Mm? Yeah.
I like the opening riff. It's got a modal sound to it. Richie Blackmore, maybe. It's got what I think is a slide, like a slide guitar part. I think it's pretty cool. Here's where the production, though, kind of takes away from like that opening riff. I think it's a good riff, but there's something about the production that just like softens this up that takes away from it for me. And this is where in my notes, I make a note about the drumming, where my note is just drumming isn't very exciting in general on this album. And I think the drum sound doesn't help. I think just something about it I don't like. This is also where in this verse, it just doesn't sound tight to me. It sounds to me like Steve is rushing. He's ahead of everybody else. It just doesn't sound tight. It just sounds like it needed another take or something like they're not comfortable with this tempo, that it should have been a little bit faster maybe or something. There's just always something unsettling I don't like about that verse. I do like the part in the lyric when Bruce goes, I remember a time when we used and abused and fought all our battles in vain. I think that's a great lyrics. I think great melody line there. I do think that that's really catchy. And I like that fast part with when the guitars and the guitars are kind of playing off each other. The one guitar is playing like this kind of strange chord. I think that's really cool. It goes into like a triple time. All of a sudden,
Mm.
the tempo just really accelerates at that, jumps up at that one spot. And I think that that's really cool. That reminds me a little bit of like maybe something you might have heard off of Seventh Son. So maybe if this was produced a little different and the drums were produced a little different, I could just picture this big, epic, bombastic, bigger guitars, bigger drums, making it sound better. And again, I don't like the verse rhythm and what's going on with the instruments in the verse. But so potential here, but it comes up short.
Yeah. I could more or less just copy paste what you just said, but going into making this album, Steve sort of asked Yannick, who was like for the first time contributing songs to the band. He asked Yannick to come up with something different. You can always talk about how conservative Steve Harris is as a person. When he finds something he likes that, and he won't change his mind. But we have to be fair and say that it was Steve who thought that Yannick was the guy for Iron Maiden, and he said that you bring your stuff, give us something different. And so many of the different songs, the different I mean different in style, are Yannick songs on this album. We just talked about Afraid to Shoot Strangers, which it's also a bit different, but it's a Steve song. Fear is the Key. It's not a favorite. It's too much a bit of a roller coaster of a song, since it's just like you say. I like the intro, but I don't like the verse. It just doesn't go anywhere. It never takes off. But I do like the chorus. I remember the time when
Yeah,
we
that's a
used
great
that.
part.
That's good. And I also like the like you said, when they go in double or triple time. And I especially I enjoy the idea of having an acoustic guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
Ding.
sound. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean that's Yannick doing, and Yannick from this time and onwards has always like incorporated acoustic guitars and acoustic bits, which I think adds to the sound and the quality of what is Iron Maiden today. On this album, he hadn't really found his what kind of songs that he would later come to do for Iron Maiden. Fear is the Key is just a totally different type of song from what Iron Maiden have done previous to Fear the Dark, and I can't remember they've done anything like this after Fear the Dark either. It's just in that aspect, a kind of unique song for Iron Maiden. But again, it has some great moments, but as a song in total, it just doesn't it doesn't work. And I don't like this part where Bruce is going the lies and lies and lies and
Yeah,
lies and
I don't
lies
like
and
that either.
lies.
Yeah.
It just maybe they thought it was like ad-libbing, doing
Yeah.
something else, but nah. And it's only Janik playing the solo in this song,
And it's
I
it's
think.
another one where again going back to this, like if Martin Birch maybe we don't really know for sure how much say he had in this, but this is just a situation where somebody probably should have said to them like, guys, here's some good things about this song, but it's just not fully cooked. It's just not quite there. Let's put it on the side. Let's work on it. And if it shows up on a later record, that's fine. But it's just not there. It's just not up to the standard. And there's just too many things that are okay. But I don't know.
Mm,
And if we move to the next one, Childhood's End. This is a Steve song.
yeah.
I like this one. This is one of the better songs for me. I like the intro. I think that that's a good melody line on the guitars. The main riff and rhythm, at least, is kind of interesting here. I like the guitar solos in this one and the various guitar melodies and the way they harmonize with each other. So, yeah, it doesn't stick out for me. I'm even sitting here right now trying to remember what the chorus of the song is. But again, on this record, this would be the worst song on Peace of Mind. But on this record, it's one of the ones I like better. So
I
it's all
don't think it would
context, I
have been
guess.
the I don't think it would have been the worst song though on Peace of Mind, because I think that yeah, there is another song that we talked at length about from that album that I
Go back
actually
to that
think is
episode to hear what that song
that
is.
that is way worse than Childhood Sand actually. I agree. I think the drum pad and the that
Yeah.
is a total ripoff of the song King of Twilight that they covered for the B side of Aces High, which is it's a good theft, but it is a theft nonetheless. It's also one of the better drum tracks on the album on the whole, I think. But and it's one of the best songs on the album, if you ask me. I absolutely love this song. I think but I do miss in the midsection where they go da do 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 with that guitar line.
Yeah.
They just could have added another harmony or a counter melody or just expand a bit on that because they do repeat it quite a few times. It's also uh, we haven't really talked about that, but this is the first album where most of the songs are about like current events. They write and sing about contemporary stuff. Like I mean,
Yeah.
the previous song "Fear Is the Key" is about the AIDS uh, situation, and "Childhood Sand" is about all things that is going wrong in the world from the view of Steve Harris. Um, but I really like the song. It has a solo by Janik that I think is fairly good, high energy stuff, but still on the right side and not too wild. Um, but they didn't play this one live for some reason. I would have loved to hear this one live. I think they should have picked this. I mean, it's way better than From Here to Eternity that they even released as a single and played live. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wasting Love. I know this one seems to get a little bit of heat because I've heard people, I think even on Wikipedia, it says it being a power ballad. Maybe it's because I like Bruce singing stuff like this, ballads. This is a Bruce and Yannick song.
Mm,
I like this song. I like this song a lot. And for me, it's all about Bruce. When that chorus kicks in, and Bruce is just, it's a Tears of the Dragon, not as good as Tears of the Dragon, but it's that vibe where Bruce, the chorus comes around, the guitars get louder, and Bruce just goes into his money zone, where he's up there in his range, where he's all his power. So I like it. I like the dynamic drop in the verses. It gets a little spooky and moody in the verses. I think that that's really cool. I think that Bruce sounds like classic Bruce on this one too. That's the other thing. Maybe that's another reason why I really like it. I like the guitar solos in this one. So far, this childhood's end and Be Quick or Be Dead are the three songs that I like on this. But I really like this one because I think Bruce sounds great. I love when Bruce sings these. Is it a ballad? I don't know. It's sort of a
mm,
slower tempo.
mm,
When Bruce does these slower tempo uh, type songs, and this to me is like Bruce's fastball. Like in baseball, a pitcher has a pitch that he does really well. Maybe he's got
mm,
a fastball, maybe it's his curveball. This is Bruce's pitch. This is Bruce's shot. He does this really, really well. This type of thing. His voice is suited for it. He so for me that's what sells this. I love Bruce's performance on this one.
mm. Maybe maybe it's not a great Maiden song, but I think they do this song great. It, would I call it a power ballad? Well, I guess it is. I mean, it has a sort of with the verse and everything, with a acoustic guitar and so on. And again, Yannick brings something different to the band.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Bruce and Yannick at first thought that Steve would like it because I mean he is the producer of the album alongside with Martin Birch. So all these songs have went through the filter of Steve Harris, but he a bit to their surprise liked this song, and they did it live. And they, as we will find out later when we talk about the singles, they even made a single release of this one. Uh, I like Yannick's solo on this one. It has that sort of it is a slow solo, but it has so much energy, and I really like that. It's a good song. I like Wasting Love.
Yeah, you
I
could
liked it
definitely
back then.
picture you could definitely picture this on one of Bruce's solo albums.
Yeah.
It has that vibe that it absolutely could have been on one of his solo albums. But hey, I'll just take it because it's a good song, even if it's maybe stands out a little bit as maybe not 100% fitting the Iron Maiden mold. I'll take it for what it's slim pickings on this record, so we got to take what we're we got to take what we're given here. Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah.
All right, The Fugitive. This is a Steve number. I think the opening riff is pretty cool. It's pretty heavy. Like the first part of the verse. Chorus is okay. They repeat it too many times. This is like a thing that Steve's songs have this like these you feel like you just hear the chorus is a little too simple. I am a fugitive and a da 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 da. I am a fugitive and a da da da. And it gets repeated too many times. I do really like there's this riff that comes in between the two guitar solos that I think is awesome. And Steve has these bass licks that he plays. I put a note here underneath the solo before the last verse, which is kind of like why doesn't he play more like this on the rest of the record? I mentioned like Nico not really standing out in a very
Mm.
odd way. Steve doesn't stand out a lot on this record either. His bass playing, it's a little, which is really weird to say about Steve. It's a little lost in the mix. Usually Steve's bass is loud and up front and you can hear everything that he's doing, but it sort of gets lost at times here. And he's on this album and he spends a lot of time just kind of doubling what's going on. We don't get those like Steve Harris bass fills that you get all over the earlier records, but you get a little bit of that here in that one
Mm.
moment. And it's kind of like, man, why didn't you do more of that on this record?
Yeah, yeah.
I may have made it a little bit more interesting to listen to. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I know what part you mean. Yeah. Actually, this song back then in '92 was one of my favorite songs of the album. I have to be honest, it hasn't really stood the test of time that well, but I do think it's one of the better songs on the album. The 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 lyric of the song was inspired by this TV series from the '60s called The Fugitive, about someone who has to clear his name accused of a crime he didn't commit. And I think they made a year later or two, they made this film with Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford called The Fugitive, which is also based on that TV series. But this song predates the Hollywood flick. Um, Again, I think this it's a fairly good song, but it's not super great. But on the other hand, it's a type of song that I think the album sort of needs. So
yeah,
it has its place. This was also, according to Luis Mariano Rodriguez, considered to be a single for the album, but in
yeah,
the end, they didn't even play it live. So
yeah,
even their enthusiasm waned a bit before they actually released the album. Um,
yeah.
there's I made this interesting note that on the three songs prior to The Fugitive, it's only Janik solos in those songs. And I mean, that must be like the first time ever that Dave hasn't played for like three songs.
Yeah.
It's only Janik, but on this song, it's Dave makes his return playing a solo, uh, and it's after that part that we talked about, which is quite cool. So, The Fugitive, it's good but not great.
All right, next, Chains of Misery. This is a Bruce and Dave Murray song. Dave getting in on a writing credit here, which doesn't happen very often.
Mm.
I don't like this chorus. I really dislike this chorus. It reminds me again of this sort of rock and roll. Don't like the chorus. I have a note here. I like the picked guitar section after the first chorus and that the first solo is pretty decent, but this to me just doesn't work. It's more of that kind of being rock and roll thing, and I hate this chorus.
Do you like the chorus of this song, John, or do you?
Let me repeat myself for the people in the back row. I do not like this is the problem with this record. Like there are things on here that I don't want to say I always skip over them, but the only way I can get through this record is that I have to. I mean, I listen to it from top to bottom for the podcast, but if I pull this out and listen to this, I skip from For Here to Eternity, and I definitely skip this one. I can't even listen to. And there's another one that I skipped too that's coming up that we haven't gotten to yet.
Mm. Usually, I like Dave's songs, uh, but like you say, they're far apart, unfortunately. But this song doesn't do it at all for me. The one thing I do, the one thing I do like with this song, and is the half tempo part that comes before the solo, where Bruce is sort of ad-libbing a bit and Dave is playing like some bluesy notes. And I had to check this up because when I was listening to it, it sort of reminded me of a Michael Schenker's song.
Mm,
I was pretty sure it was on the second Michael Schenker group album from '81. So I had to yesterday I was actually listening to the whole of the second MSG album just to find out if this was just a ghost in my mind or if it's actually there. And I think I found it. It's very much alike a part just like that on a song called "But I Want More" of
Mm.
the second MSG album. It's not note by note, but in the style and the atmosphere is just spot on actually. Um, and that's a good thing. I love the early Michael Schenker group albums, so that's a good thing. But on the whole, Chains of Misery doesn't work for me. It's in a weird tempo, and you talk about the tempo getting a bit off when they go back from the midsection and the solos into the refrain. It's like Nico have to drop back in a tempo and the rest of the band doesn't follow him, or if he's just dragging on behind. It's just a very weird
Yeah, it's another one that
a
doesn't
weird
seem in
weird
sync.
situation.
Yeah, like they can't agree on the tempo or they didn't rehearse it enough or so, I don't know. There's just something about it. It's
It's not usual.
unsettling.
It's not usual that Steve sort of openly talks down on songs, but this is one of the few songs that he said he don't like this song, and apparently they perhaps they had this big debate in the studio if they were going to record it and blah blah blah. And I mean, this is I think we mentioned this on the in the previous episode that No Prayer for the Dying was the last vinyl record. It was
Mm.
made for vinyl. Fear the Dark is a double LP
Yeah.
uh, because it's like 1 hour long or something. If the album had been a vinyl release,
Yeah.
having the CD format anywhere in their minds, I think this is for sure one of the songs, or the one of the songs that would have been dropped. And I say, I like Dave. I like Dave's songs usually, but Chains of Misery is no. Let's move on to the apparition.
Apparition. Yeah. Cool song title. But the verse feel and the melody are just a letdown for me. I don't like them. Uh, the part in the, I have a note here, the part in the middle of the guitar solos where everyone is doubling. I guess I like that part. I don't really even remember what this song is. So I guess that kind of says what it is. It's just kind of like outside of the title, it's just forgettable. I'll call it forgettable. I don't remember it being bad like Chains of Misery, like a skip over track, but it's just nah.
I think again we have Steve asking Yannick to bring something different. It's Yannick's music and it's Steve's lyrics, but I think the music sort of works, but Steve's lyrics and Steve's vocal melodies for the music doesn't work at all.
No.
There are a few lines that are just tongue twisters, and I think even Bruce sort of had this as a example of when Steve does Steve too much. There's
Hmm.
this extrasensory perception, telepathy. What was the line? I have to look it up. It's so weird. The way that Bruce is forced to sing it. Let me check it out here. And it's a long lyric. I mean, the lyric is the longest on the album, and it's just about the way that Steve looks on life and death. Extrasensory perception, life after death, telepathy. Extrasensory perception, life after death, telepathy. That's the way I had
Yeah.
to phrase it. It's just totally unnatural.
Yeah.
It's another song that Steve openly said he doesn't like at all. And I agree with Steve Harris. It's not. It's it could have been made into a better song. Uh, there are I like you said the mid section, the up tempo bit is quite good, but as a song it doesn't work. It shouldn't have
Yeah.
been on the album, literally. So it's Janik, Dave, and Janik playing the solos.
All right, Judas Be My Guide. This was a little better. I like this title. I like the intro. I think it starts off kind of epic sounding. And it's a good verse and a decent chorus. But again, there's just a little bit of that 80s rock thing sort of creeping into this one. This is a Dick Bruce, Dave Murray. This is better than Chains of Misery and The Apparition. But nah, it's not making a if I'm making a playlist or something, an Iron Maiden playlist, it's not going to be on there, but it's a little bit better than the two that came before it, I guess.
Mm. I think if there was a list of deep dive fan favorites, Judas Be My Guide would be very high ranking on a song that is not known among the general fans,
Yeah.
but the diehards absolutely love. Because I have met so many people over the years, talking to people on concerts, talking with friends who like Iron Maiden, and it's remarkable how many people that just loves Judas Be My Guide
Wow.
to bits. So I think if you made a curve of famous songs, unknown songs,
Yeah.
and fan favorites, I think this would be like a standout song in that aspect. I don't love this song, but I like it. It's a song that didn't I didn't fall in love immediately, but it is a song on the other hand that has sort of grown on me over the years. Uh, Apparently, Bruce said that this song uh, he wrote, like we talked about just now about Chains of Misery. That was also Dave's idea, but then he brought in like a few ideas and then made it into a song. Bruce said that for Judas Be My Guide, he just put vocals to to Dave's demo, and that's it. So the way that Dave's demo went, that's exactly the version they recorded for the album.
Wow.
That
Interesting.
was like a complete song in that aspect. All solos are by Dave, and I really enjoy Dave solos. I think it's
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's you can hear that it's his song and that he has thought about what he wants to do on his spots. That he is well prepared for his spots on his song. Judas
Yeah.
Be My Guide.
Okay. Weekend Warrior. I'm just going to read the notes that I put for this. Horrible 80s rock. Hate the feel and Bruce's vocal and melody. Don't like anything about this song. Chorus is awful. First guitar solo is good with all the whammy bar stuff. Harmony part that comes in after that is interesting, but the next solo is terrible. This
Mm-hmm.
is a terrible song. And it's at least uh from here to eternity, like I confessed that I felt that it was a catchy chorus. This I think it's trying to be the same type of thing. I'm not even sure. And it doesn't it doesn't even achieve that. So even though I dislike when Iron Maiden does these sort of hard rock sounding songs, this is this is just bad. Harris, it's Steve and Yannick. And I sort of see a theme here that they're trying, especially with Yannick, to maybe have him interject some different things for the band.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could say that they were experimenting with different, like Fear is the Key is one type of thing, the rainbow vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Weekend Warrior is something different. And oh
Mm-hmm.
boy, does this miss the mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Lousy.
it's not a. I asked a few friends what they thought about this album when it came out, and my friend Martin, he said that there are a few songs on this album that back then to him sounded like grown up rock, vuxen rock in Swedish, and I think it must have been this very song they thought about that,
Yeah.
like Weekend Warriors grown up
Yeah,
rock
it sounds like
music.
something Loverboy or Night Ranger might have done or
Yeah.
something, you know. It's not good.
Okay. No, I don't like this song either. It's it's definitely it's something different. and kudos for Maiden to going out, trying something different, going out of the comfort zone. But this is just way off. I do like, I do like the mid section, that do 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 do
Yeah.
do 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 do, and again with the use of the acoustic guitar in the background a bit, just adds a bit more. But maybe again, maybe the acoustic guitar adds a bit of the grown up feeling,
Yeah.
perhaps. But yeah, the lyric is about football or soccer for you Americans, hooligans. Is that a good subject for an Iron Maiden song?
No.
Well, again, they try to be a bit more
Modern or
contemporary.
yeah.
Yeah, but no, it doesn't really work. Um, I've had this idea for many years, actually. As you, I think we've mentioned this before on this pod, but me and my friend Henrik, we made this covers album called Food for Thought 20 years ago. And one of the ideas I had after we made that album is to make a British punk version of this song, like an oi punk
Yeah.
sort of version of this song. So maybe one day I will make that come true. I haven't recorded it. I actually played it with Jonas in Onda Radio just to try it out a bit. I show him the chords and just But no, it's second to last spot on the album, which is the classic filler spot. And oh my, is this a filler song? But
Somebody
yeah,
should, just as a, I would love to see somebody create a YouTube promo for their new Iron Maiden tribute act called Weekend Warrior and have little snippets of you playing, the band playing like the songs that nobody likes by Iron Maiden, but be real serious about it and then go
yeah.
and post it on a bunch of forums and stuff and see if people react to it. Like the Ultimate Iron Maiden tribute band, Weekend Warrior, and then you're playing like all the Where the Wild Winds Blow and stuff like that, like just the stuff that the deep cuts that nobody wants to hear, and just to see if anybody realizes that it's a send off there, that it's a gag, that no one would be serious.
There really should be, now when you said it, there really should be an Armenian covers band named Weekend Warriors.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. And they have to do this. Yeah.
All right,
Who
so
knows? Yeah.
the album ends with probably the song that even if you're a casual Iron Maiden fan, you're going to recognize this song, Fear of the Dark. It's the longest song on the record at 7 minutes and 16 seconds. So when we were getting ready to do this pod, I've said in the past that I'm not that big of a fan of Fear of the Dark. Not that I don't like the song, but I think, especially in their live set, it's sort of supposed to be a highlight of the live set. And I get it because there's a lot of crowd sing-alongs and stuff like that. And when they play it live, I never liked when they go and start jumping up and down. And that was Steve always jumps up and down. But I gotta admit, when I listened to this, I have the vinyl version, not an original or repress of it. And I was listening to it, I was like, and maybe it was because I had just sat through the rest of the record. Uh, I was like, this is better than I give this song credit for. The opening guitar line is very memorable. I guess my one issue with it is that harmonically there isn't a lot going on. It's a little repetitive, E minor, C, D, the typical Iron Maiden sort of chord progression thing. I don't
Mm.
know if that's the key that it's in. I think that's the key that it's in. Uh,
Yeah.
but there are some changes to it. It does build kind of nicely. I like the lyrics. I like the way it ends and Bruce just kind of singing that line at the end. Do I like it better than maybe I like it better than Mother Russia? I'll say I like it better than Mother Russia. But as far as the other Iron Maiden last song on the record or epics on the album, I guess I would say it this way. After listen, I realize I like the studio version better than the way they play it live. I think they play it too fast live, and I think that causes there to not be as much of a dynamic shift when the song does move up in tempo. I think they just play it too fast. Uh, I think this is a really good song. I don't think this is the masterpiece, great song that it's sometimes made out to be. For me personally, when it comes up live, this is my if I got to go to the bathroom, if I've been holding it in, this is I sneak out during Fear of the Dark because I don't know what it is, and I feel bad about it because it's a very popular song that they've pretty much played on every tour after. It's
Mhm.
like a staple, highlighted the set, everybody sings along type of thing. I don't know, it just doesn't resonate with me. And again, I don't think it's bad. I think maybe I won't even say really good. I'll say this is a pretty good song.
You know, for me, I've been to a fair bit of Maiden concerts over the years, and every time they play this song, it's like, again, just copy pasting what you just said. It is a fan favorite. It's a classic Maiden song. They play it. They played it on every tour. They even played it on tours where they really shouldn't have played it. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, why did they put Fear the Dark in this set? It's supposed to be like a set for the early days or whatever. And but as a witness from back then in 1992, this song was an instant hit. It was an immediate sing along tune before they released the live versions and everyone heard the sing along parts. It just begged to be this
Yeah.
Maiden classic. But for me, honestly, the burnout factor, if there was this talking about the rate of a burnout factor, the burnout factor on this song is so strong for me. I don't actually know what I think about this song anymore. I'm so fed up with it. And if I don't ever get to hear this song ever again in my entire life, I would be a happy man. I would literally want to hear any other song of this album. I would rather hear Weekend Warrior just because it's something different. It's not Fear of the Dark. And it was be like, wow, they changed. They do Weekend Warrior instead of Fear of the Dark. Thank thank you, God.
Yeah, and
Or
it's like I
thank you,
really
Steve.
think that the band and I've never heard a fan say this, but I think that the band sort of puts it on the same pedestal as like Number of the Beast or
Hallowed be thy name, or
Hallowed Be Thy Name,
yeah,
exactly. And
yeah, yeah.
and maybe
Well,
it's a because I'm from the US and the whole kind of like I tell me if I'm wrong, but the whole kind of like sing along thing, singing along to whoa,
hmm.
though that type of singing is very much like a football, as in European football thing.
I guess, yeah.
And like, it's not like in the States at an American football game that people don't like, did it, hey, did it, did it. But we tend to not have like these I see them at soccer stadiums where people are singing these like whoa 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 like these
Mm.
type of things. We tend not to have that. Not that American audiences don't like to sing along with a song, but I think we tend to like to more sing along with like the 666, the number of the beast, like that kind of thing,
Mm.
rather than these kind of long, you know, like in Fear of the Dark, these lines that the crowd, whoa, whoa, whoa. So maybe there's part of that. It makes it difficult for me to embrace this. It doesn't click with me as much. I don't know. It's a theory, and I'll say that this song, like when they play this, I've seen clips. I mean, obviously, I've seen clips online of them playing in Europe, and when they play this, it's just deafening. Whoa, whoa! When they play it in the States, whoa! It's like half the crowd is singing it. It just doesn't have the same. impact. And again, I don't
Mm.
know if that's just a cultural thing or just this particular album, because I don't remember this song. It certainly didn't get played on the radio, and I don't remember seeing a video. By this time, Iron Maiden we had really fallen out of favor in the States. And although I was shocked looking at Wikipedia here that this album went to number 12, I think in this, yeah, it reached number 12 in the US. I'm absolutely shocked by that because I don't know how much did they tour this album in the States and where were they playing in the States? I don't know. Maybe they were still playing big venues at this point and they were still, but maybe it was just me personally because I had checked out and I might as well have been living on an island in 1992. I was completely out of touch with what was going on
Yeah.
with Iron
I
Maiden at
mean,
this point in time.
I think when we look back now in hindsight on this album, and for me personally, I this could very well be the album in their entire catalog, including the Blaze albums, that I reach for the least.
Yeah.
And before preparing for this pod, it might be so that I hadn't actually played this album from start to finish since the 2015 remasters came out. And that's like 10 years ago now that I've actually listened to the whole album a couple of times. Uh, there's something about this album that it's too long, it spreads too thin. Some of the songs, like we've just discussed, they just doesn't work for me. But if you look on the commercial success and the tour they made back then in '92, I think we sort of look on this era with because we know what happened after and sort of read into that Bruce was mentally going somewhere else. But
Hmm.
at the time, Maiden, at least in Europe and definitely in Sweden, were a very popular band. They played big venues, not as big venues as they do now, because since the return of Bruce, it's gone off the scale to a completely different level. But I mean, they played like South America for the first time on this tour. They were, of course, doing gigs in. I think they did gigs in Australia, which
Yeah, I'm
is
looking at the
a
tour
bit
dates right
rare, and
now
they
and
did
yeah.
Japan as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the tour dates here and like for the States, although of course I don't know all these venues, but I'm seeing a lot of amphitheaters instead of where 3 or 4 years earlier they were playing arenas, hockey
Mm,
arenas and stuff.
mm.
I see in New York they played the Ritz. The Ritz is like a smaller club,
But
whereas they had sold out Radio City multiple
yeah, but that was
nights.
just a warm up gig. The Ritz was like prior to the proper tour gig they did.
Because it's a third show
Yeah, but
into, okay.
yeah, but they did. I think they played. Did they play Iceland before that as a warm up as
Yeah,
well?
they
And
played
then
Iceland
yeah.
and England.
So I, of course, there are tour dates on the tour, but it wasn't like the
Yeah. But
proper
even the other
dates.
way, it looks like it's looking like not knowing every one of these venues, it's looking like they've taken a step down venue size here
Mm.
in the States, whereas they were playing the Forum in LA, whereas I can't find the LA date. They're not playing the Forum now in LA. They're playing theaters, amphitheaters, uh, Irvin Meadows Amphitheater. I don't know, San Francisco, the Cow Palace, so I could be
But the
wrong, but
US, but the US is not the whole of the world, John. You have
yeah, oh,
to
and
keep
yeah, I
that in
know. And
mind.
over in Europe, they were still like playing arenas, but that might have contributed to why, again, this album just, they were on a downward trajectory here in the States.
Yeah.
They weren't on the radar here in the States, whereas over in and I have a theory too that Bruce seems to have a chip on his shoulder when it comes to the States. And I really think it's because of the way their last two records with him during this era, and they started playing smaller venues, they weren't getting as much attention. The numbers, I can't speak to this for sure if the numbers were down, but I'm going to guess that they were for their attendance. And it always seems like Bruce has been angry at the US about that. I mean, I haven't seen them as many times as you have, but I'm going to say half the times I've seen them, Bruce makes some sort of kind of slightly condescending comment towards the American crowd, like, because again, and the other thing is that I'll give you okay, I mentioned Fear of the Dark as being like the crowd kind of sings along with it here, but not like they do over in Europe. The next
Mm.
one that they really don't sing along with, see if you can guess what it is. The next song that they really don't sing along with here in the States, but that they really sing along with in Europe is
Could that be?
big sing-along song, comes out on an album after this, not a Blaze album,
Yeah, Blood Brothers,
Blood
perhaps.
Brothers.
Yeah,
That song, when I see clips of that in Europe, we're Blood Brother, it's like
yeah, yeah,
here
yeah,
in the States, it's like half the people are. I mean, there's some people singing, obviously, but it's
yeah.
like nothing. It's half the crowd. Whereas, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, everybody's singing. Blood Brothers comes on, and people are leaving for popcorn, and nobody's really singing along with it. Whereas, like I
Mm.
said, there's Brazil, soccer stadium with 60,000 people. It's like deafening roar of people singing. Here in the
Yeah,
States, it's just like
yeah.
it flops here. I want to say flops, but it doesn't really go over. It noticeably doesn't go over in the set. And I think that angers Bruce. That
Maybe
he
so.
looks at.
He does. I do totally agree with you. He seems to have a bit of a what's the saying, a chip on his shoulder
Yeah.
towards the U.S. audiences for being a bit like fickle, not all true hardcore, but a
Yeah.
bit like where's the wind blowing this tour? Okay, now this is in style, or now the American audience fancy this, and next year they go for something else instead. Whereas in all the other parts of the world, it's like 100% Iron Maiden fans going to Maiden shows.
Yeah.
So it is a difference to be able to be filling out stadiums that size that they do in the rest of the world. In the US, it doesn't really happen. So in that aspect, they don't need to be big in the US because they're not big enough in the
Yeah.
rest of the world. But at the same time, I mean, USA is a huge country, and they have hundred thousands of proper hardcore fans in the US. So they have to tour there, of course. And but many in the band have sort of witnessed that it's like the first rows of the audience where the
Yeah.
actual hardcore is.
Yep.
But like you mentioned, in the rest of the world, people in the seats are singing along, standing up, applauding, waving their hands,
Yeah.
pumping their fist in the air or whatever. But in the US, it's not like that at all.
And it isn't just for everything. Like I said, you go to a US show, and when they go into the Trooper or any of the classic stuff, the place explodes. It's just that there's a noticeable, you can just tell that a certain percentage of the audience doesn't know what Blood Brothers is. They don't
Mm.
know that song, and it just sort of goes right by them. Whereas, like you said, everywhere. So maybe fear of to tie this back in to fear of the dark. Maybe there's a bunch of factors for because I've always puzzled at myself. Like, man, this is a song that is held in such high esteem by some fans and clearly by the band because it's always given prime real estate in the set list, like the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the best spot in the
Absolutely.
set list. Uh, and I just always think to myself, what am I missing? And part of it, when I listened to it, I said, well, okay, I like the studio version better, but yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
All right, well, shall we move on to the B-sides?
Mm. I just have
Yeah.
one sort of uh, thing here. You talked about Nico's drumming, and I just forgot to mention this, but it's on the song "Weekend Warrior." If you didn't know it was Nico McBrain playing the drums on that song, and this goes for a few other songs as well, you wouldn't be able to tell
Yeah.
it's Nico McBrain. The drum tracks is so, it's like he's this session player being called in to do his job, and he's doing an excellent job, but it's not like full on Nico that
Yeah.
we heard on the previous album, like No Pray for the Dying, which is 100%. It's more than 100% of Nico McBrain on that album, where here is sort of restrained or
Yeah.
held back.
There was even a brief moment, and I can't remember what song it was. It might have been in Weekend Warrior, where I said, "Is this a drum machine?" And I thought, "No, no, 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 it can't be. It can't be." But the thought entered my mind for like
Mm,
a half a second, where I was like, "Drum machine?" Because, like you just said, it's so void of. You listen to Where Eagles Dare, and you don't for a second consider it a drum machine. It's like very obviously a person, and very obviously Nico, his personality really shines through on most of the Iron Maiden stuff that he plays on. But there was a moment, and I think it was in Weekend Warrior, where I was listening, and that thought creeped into my mind. I was like, "Nah, it couldn't be. They wouldn't dare." But just the fact that it popped into my head for a
mm,
second just goes to show you that, yeah,
yeah.
exactly what you just said. That it's like it's so held back. It doesn't even sound like Nico.
Mm.
All right,
Okay.
let's move on to the B sides.
Okay, so for the single releases to this album then, the first single was the Be Quick or Be Dead single, which is the first song on the album, of course, was put out on the 13th of April in 1992. This song has the maxi single, the 12-inch single, has 3 songs listed, but there are actually 4 songs on this release. And when I say this, I mean this one as in the 12-inch, and I also mean I think that the picture disc, 12-inch picture disc, also has this. So after the song "Be Quick or Be Dead," there is a song which is untitled. It is among fans called "Basewater Ain't a Bad Place to Be." It's a rather silly song, if you ask me, about their manager Rod Smallwood, and it's just Yannick and Bruce. So Yannick is playing the acoustic guitar, and Bruce is singing about Rod Smallwood. It's very forgettable. Uh, I don't think it's very funny. Have you heard this song?
No, I've never heard this B side. I mean, it's hidden track. I've never
You
heard the
know,
hidden track, but I don't like when. I mean, I've said this before. I get why they do it. It's a way for them to blow off steam and have fun, pressure of the studio and being in a touring band. So if they need to do this, so be it. And they put it on hidden on a B side. So I guess who really cares?
so
But I just don't like these things when they do these things.
so this for you watching on YouTube, this is the a 12-inch version, a UK version with a gatefold sleeve. It's pretty nice, pretty rare. And like I said, on the A side, after Be Quick or Be Dead, there's this hidden song that fans usually refer to as Bayswater Ain't a Bad Place to Be. And Bayswater is a part of London, and that's where Rod Smallwood, I assume, was living at the time. So, on to the listed songs. We have Nodding Donkey Blues. The whole band gets credit on this one, but the lyric comes from an unreleased Samson Jam song. And the words to this song, the Samson song, was done by Bruce, and I think in Samson circles it's usually referred to as the biggest lay in town. So the lyric
Mhm.
is about a very obese groupie. Uh, Nodding Donkey Blues. Is this a funny song? I wouldn't say so. Do I like it? Not really. Uh, it's just, of course, you can argue that it's just a bit of fun. But I mean, if you compare Nodding Donkey Blues or the hidden track to B-sides of the 80s, like we talked about extensively about the B-sides for Somewhere in Time, those singles, or Rainbow's
Yeah.
Gold, the Beckett song of the Two Minutes to Midnight single, and then you have something like this, Nodding Donkey Blues. It doesn't hold up anywhere. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
hold
just
up
a
at
waste
all.
of space. And it is kind of, I never really thought of this, but it's unfortunate, like maybe what they could have done in place of something like that was to play a cover by a really obscure band, which they've done that in the past, done covers from obscure bands. And they could have done something like that, and it would have been a cool kind of way of exposing fans to some band they may have never heard of that maybe had some kind of influence or some sort of impact on the band.
Mhm.
But
I
yeah,
do
it's
think I do think you're more familiar with the other song, which is a proper cover, the Space Station Number 5, which is a
yeah.
Montreux song from the Montreux's album from 1973, 74, 73, something like that.
Yeah, you're probably yeah, the first Montrose album was 73, so
Okay. Mm.
yeah.
And I wouldn't say that Space Station Number 5 is an obscure cover, because I think that is one of the more
Yeah.
famous Montreux songs, right? It's okay. I think it's a good song. I I don't prefer it over I Got the Fire, which they covered twice before. So this is the third recording of a Montreux song, but the second song they recorded. But it's a good one. What do you think about their version of this
Yeah,
Montreux song?
I think it's good. It's interesting to hear them that this might have been an influence on them and it's sort of here. Yeah, they stick fairly close to the original. I think the ending is a little bit different. There's like it goes out differently, I think, on the ending of the original.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they sound good on this. And honestly, I wasn't hip to Montrose till I started collecting vinyl and I got some of their that first album on vinyl. So I can't remember if I heard these B-sides or but I could see it, turning some people on to Montrose. So really what would have been better is if they had done a cover from a bigger, more known band like this, and then maybe have a cover from an obscure band. I think that would have been a better use of the space. But yeah, otherwise I think it's good. Not really something I'm gonna, I don't know, go out of my way to listen to or something like that. But it's
Mm.
not one of their best B-sides, but it's still pretty cool.
So moving on to the next single from the album, it's From Here to Eternity. Unfortunately, as you might
Uh,
understand, me and John does is not fans of this song. From Here to Eternity came out prior to their gig at the Donington, and this is from the 29th of June 1992. This is the 7-inch, which has this cover. It's just a photo of the band from their video for this song, and the video of this song is Charlotte riding with the devil down to hell to see Iron Maiden play a gig in hell, as you do. And this is all these sleeves for the different formats are just different pictures from that video set. And I I don't like the song, as we've talked about. I do think that these sleeves, these cover illustrations or photographs used do match the quality of the song, which is not good. But there are of course, a few B-sides. We have on the 7-inch, there is a sort of funny version of Roll Over Beethoven, the Chuck Berry song, but it's called Roll Over Vic Vela. And who is Vic Vela, you might ask yourself? Vic Vela is, of course, one of the first roadies and associates of the band. I think he got injured and had to stop touring and being like a tech for the band, but he became Steve Harris's sort of caretaker, personal assistant, doing jobs for Steve Harris at his mansion. Again, I think this is a joke between friends. There is candid recordings of Vic Vela talking about stuff, and unfortunately, the sound quality of the recordings of Vic Vela that they have inserted, and which is prior and after, no, it's after the song. It's actually quite hard to hear what he's saying. And I don't say that because of his thick accent or anything, but because of the recording is so poor. But again, it's lighthearted and not to be taken too seriously. The version of Roll Over Beethoven, or Vic Vela in this case, is pretty good, but it's nothing special, a bit forgettable. So have you listened much to Roll Over Vic Vela, John?
Nah, I've listened to it, but there's nothing there. It's an inside joke. The cover is terrible. You can't even tell really what's going on there. I know it's motorcycles, they're down in hell, but the cover looks bad. Uh, if you're a Maiden completist, maybe you want to get this, maybe you want to listen to it once just so you can say you've heard it, but nah, there's no reason why I would go back to listen to this again.
I would say that the B-side for the picture disc is more interesting because that is a recording of a Budgie song called I Can't See My Feelings, which is from their 1975 album Bandolier.
Yeah.
And for the longest of time, the picture disc was the only source for this song, the Maiden version. And unfortunately, the sound quality, sound quality on picture discs are poor, but especially on this one, the sound quality is really, really poor. Apparently, it was a song that Nico wanted the band to record because apparently he's a fan of I Can See My Feelings. I do like this one, and it is now available in format on CD, so you can hear it with better sound quality. Yeah. So Budgie, are you a Budgie fan?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love Budgie. So this is a cool one for them to cover, and Budgie kind of being part of the new wave of British heavy metal. Iron Maiden. Budgie is, for those people who don't know, like a 70s. They were more started in the mid early 70s, I think.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
a trio, uh, kind of like
From
Rush, singing
yeah,
bass
from
player
Wales. I
from
think it was
Wales. Yeah.
well, yeah.
So yeah, this is a cool song for them to cover. Metallica has covered Budgie. So yeah,
Mm.
Budgie's one of these bands that when people are getting into more obscure heavy rock, proto metal, Budgie's like one of the first bands that people will check out or get suggested. So yeah, this is cool. I like it. I like the bass playing on it, and yeah, this is worth the
Mm.
admission.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the 12-inch, this is was released as a poster bag. You can fold it out and make a full-size poster. It also has rollover Vic Vela, and it also has a live version of No Pray for the Dying recorded in on Wembley Arena, not Wembley Stadium. That's a different place. Wembley Stadium is like the huge arena where they play their soccer games, football games. But Wembley Arena is an indoor arena. It's still pretty good and pretty big for London. They recorded shows there for a live album release. Unfortunately, they never did. I'm still hoping that they would put out like a deluxe box set with No Prayer, with all the B-sides, maybe some outtakes, and of course the live recordings from Wembley Arena. So there are two songs on this on the From Here to Eternity formats, which is Public Enemy #1 and No Prayer for the Dying, which are both, of course, from the previous album. And they are very good recordings. I do think that Bruce's vocals on these live recordings from Wembley are better even than his vocals for the actual studio versions. So have you listened to those live tracks, John?
No, honestly, I don't think I've ever heard them.
I think they're worth checking out actually, because that is a good quality live recording produced and mixed by Martin Birch. So
Yeah.
if you're into Maiden and want to hear some of these No Prayer for the Dying songs recorded with, like I said, slightly better vocals, you can go to these recordings. There are good quality bootlegs as well out for that. And the third and the last single is Wasting Love. It also has a acutely boring sleeve.
Yeah.
I mean, what is going on here? There's in the video. This is also like a picture from the video of the song, and I must say, both From Here to Eternity and Wasting Love videos are pretty. I mean, they had a budget, so they are quite serious and expensive looking in that way. But why they picked this cover for the CD single, I have no idea. And the CD single, this one is actually the only format of the single that they put out. You can't find Wasting Love on like promos as well. And I think there is an American promo, perhaps even on vinyl, I think. Should have checked that out before I start to record here. But there are just 3 live tracks from the same recording. Wembley Arena in December of 1990. Here it is: Tail Gunner, Holy Smoke, and The Assassin. So if you collect these, you have half the album No Prayer for the Dying on as live versions.
Yeah.
One thing also that is very interesting with this very release is that it has a shorter version. Armenia is not known for releasing like single or video edits,
Yeah.
but for this one they did that. This version of Wasting Love is like 1 minute shorter actually than the album version, which means that they have just cut out a fair bit of the instrumental parts of the song. There's also been this sort of rumor or myth going around for the longest of time that the CD single remix of the song, the 1 minute shorter mix, was done by Keith Olsen. Keith Olsen is a pretty famous producer, American producer, and there were these rumors that he had done this video edit for the audio of the song. But one fan got in contact with Keith Olsen and asked him this before he passed, and he denied this. He said that he did work with Bruce Dickinson when he was recording one of his 3 different versions of Balls to Picasso. Keith Olsen did the second one of these 3. The third one is the one that got released eventually. But you can find these Keith Olsen tracks and tracks of the first album he recorded as B-sides for Tears of the Dragon singles and stuff like that. But again, it's not Keith Olsen doing this. It's Martin Birch who did the edit version for the single as well.
Yeah, I noticed I looked here on Discogs and it was released as a 7-inch single in Spain. There's a seven
Okay.
inch a promo single,
Hmm.
two different versions of it that was released in '92. Otherwise, everything is a CD
Hmm.
single. There was a they look like bootlegs. The other ones look like bootlegs. Yeah, so yeah, there is a 7-inch official release. Okay, all right.
Hmm.
Well, that wraps that up. Any final thoughts on Fear of the Dark before we wrap up the episode?
I think I've said the most. Again, this is not my favorite Iron Maiden album. It's one of the bottom albums for me when it comes to my Maiden ranking. But like we said, we talked about individual tracks. There are a few songs, and let's be fair, if we were to make a vinyl version, like a 45-minute version of this album, and cut out the worst bits, it would make a better album. It would be better paced, and I think I would go for it a bit more often than I
Yeah,
actually do. So,
yeah, I agree with
but
that. Yeah, I think I've said everything I need to say about it. It's just, it was obviously time for a change. And that change is going to be coming on our upcoming episodes when we talk about the Blaze Bailey era. We're going to do an episode just focusing on Bruce leaving and Blaze coming in and stuff so that when we do get to the X Factor, we can just go right into the album. So, all right. Well, thanks to everybody out there for listening. If you'd like some more content from us, you can find it with Matthias as a band called Dead Kosmonaut. And I'm pretty certain if you like Iron Maiden, you are going to like Dead Kosmonaut. They're a great rock, metal, hard rock, heavy metal band in the classic style. Also, Maiden and his friend Henrik. They have a YouTube channel called Maiden Stockholm. Do I have that correct? Right?
no, I
Maiden.
think yeah, we made a video about all the venues and the live history of Iron Maiden in Stockholm. So we will leave a link in the description for you to check out this film that me and my friend Henrik did about made Iron Maiden in Stockholm.
Yeah, very fascinating. It'd be cool if that started a trend and people all over the world made their own versions of it and put it all on the same page.
I would absolutely love that. We even say that in the video that okay, now we did this for Stockholm and Iron Maiden. Now you go and do. And I mean, the production of this is pretty simple. We're not
Yeah.
like professionals in that sense, but we sure try to get all the facts right, and we are outside and inside most of all these venues that they've played in Stockholm over the years, which are a fair bit actually. So we do encourage anyone in the world to just say something about, I want to see what places look like. I'm fascinated by stuff like that. So that's why
Yeah.
we made the video. And we hope that other people pick up the the torch to do their version.
Yeah, it's great. If you haven't seen this video, definitely check it out. It's really fascinating. Okay. Let's see. I've also got some other podcasts. I've got my Into the Void, a Black Sabbath podcast that I do with my buddy Darren, and Kicked Into Teeth, an AC/DC podcast that I do with author and journalist Martin Popoff. I have a YouTube channel that you heard me mention early on that we post a full video version of this podcast on. Channel is called Lair the Alchemist. I also discuss various hard rock and heavy metal related topics. And yeah, I think that about sums it up for everything that we have here. And we'll see you at the next episode somewhere in time.